What would you do if your roommate started acting strange, and you soon discovered he was hiding something far more sinister than you ever imagined? This is my true story of living with a roommate whose quirks became a nightmarish reality. Buckle up as I take you through a chilling experience that will make you question everything you thought you knew about what's lurking in your own home. When I first moved into the apartment with my new roommate Jake, everything seemed perfectly normal, at least until I started noticing little things, strange things. Jake had this odd habit of leaving the kitchen lights on all night, and he often mumbled to himself in the dark hours of the morning. I figured these were just quirks, but one incident in particular should have clued me in that something was seriously wrong. It all began with the smell. At first it was just a faint odor, musty and sour, like old socks. Then I found a patch of mold in the kitchen. It was small, just a smear of green on the wall. I scrubbed it away, but it returned, spreading each time like a dark stain creeping through the apartment. Jake was a grad student like me, but where I thrived on deadlines and structure, Jake seemed to float through life with unsettling calmness. We rarely talked about his studies or his life outside the apartment. Most of our interactions were limited to casual small talk or him mentioning odd late-night rituals. I didn't think much of it, but October brought a wave of unsettling changes. One night I was jolted awake by muffled whispers. The clock on my phone read 3:17 a.m. The whispers were growing louder, more urgent. I crept into the hallway, and it was eerily quiet. Jake's door was ajar, and I saw him sitting at his desk, illuminated by the eerie glow of his computer screen. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He turned slowly, his eyes dark and hollow. "Just working," he said, his voice strangely flat. I nodded, feeling a chill run down my spine. The whispers were unnerving, but I didn't want to be the nosy roommate. I began avoiding the apartment after dark, and Jake's odd behavior only grew more troubling. The mold issue worsened. It spread from the kitchen into the living room, a pervasive green menace. I developed a persistent cough, and Jake continued to dismiss my concerns, attributing it to old building issues. But it wasn't just the mold that was growing. The whispers escalated into guttural conversations, angry voices I couldn't understand. Jake's behavior became increasingly erratic. He'd pace the apartment at odd hours, press his ear to the walls, and sometimes I'd catch him staring blankly at the mold, as if it was speaking to him. One evening, while Jake was out, I decided to investigate further. I grabbed a flashlight and went into the basement, where the mold seemed to be originating. The air was thick and damp with mildew. In a dark corner, I found a rusty door I had never noticed before. It was locked, but the key was hanging next to it. My heart pounded with a mix of dread and curiosity as I unlocked the door. Inside was a small windowless room. The walls were covered in a dense layer of mold, but what truly unnerved me were the symbols etched into the walls, ancient runes and chaotic scribbles that seemed to shift and squirm as if alive. As I examined the room, a faint scurrying noise made me freeze. I spun around, but there was nothing, just the oppressive silence of the basement. I quickly locked the door and fled back to my room, my mind racing with fear. That night, the whispers were louder than ever. They seemed to be coming from inside the walls. My anxiety was through the roof. I decided it was time to confront Jake. When I entered his room, he was standing in front of his computer, his back to me. The screen displayed what looked like a ritualistic text filled with arcane symbols. "Jake, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He turned slowly, his eyes reflecting a cold, unsettling intensity. "About what?" he asked, almost too innocently. "The mold," The whispers. What's going on? His expression darkened. You don't understand. This place is a gateway. I laughed nervously. A gateway? To what? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out an ancient-looking book from his drawer and opened it to a page filled with more symbols and strange diagrams. This book, he said reverently, was given to me by someone who knows about this place. Panic surged through me. Jake, you need help. This isn't normal. His face twisted into a sinister grin. Normal is a construct. This is what's real. That was the breaking point for me. I packed a bag and decided to stay at a friend's place for the night. The apartment had become dangerous, but as I was leaving, I heard the whispers again, this time directly outside my door. I opened it, expecting to see Jake, but the hallway was empty. The whispers grew frantic. My breath came in shallow bursts as I hurried to grab my remaining belongings. In the hallway, I saw the mold had spread even further, now covering the walls with the same symbols from the basement, glowing faintly. I heard faint scratching noises coming from inside the walls, growing louder and more urgent. When I finally managed to leave, I looked back at the building. The dark windows seemed to watch me, hiding unspeakable horrors. I didn't know what Jake had uncovered or what had driven him to madness, but one thing was clear. Something malevolent had taken hold. I never went back. I left the city and changed my number, never speaking of the incident again. The apartment complex was eventually condemned and demolished after a series of mysterious incidents involving other tenants. Sometimes I wonder if the mold was only a symptom of a darker force that had been unleashed. And as for Jake, wherever he is, I hope he found what he was looking for. But some doors, once opened, should never be closed.